The high school party was a cacophony of laughter, music, and flashing neon lights. It was the kind of event that always made me feel like an outsider. Shy and introverted, I usually found solace in a quiet corner, observing the revelry from afar. But tonight, something extraordinary happened that would change my life forever. As I nursed a soda, my gaze fell upon a girl standing by the refreshment table. She was unlike anyone else at the party. Her presence was subtle, almost ethereal. Her dark hair framed a delicate face, and her eyes held a mysterious allure. Summoning every ounce of courage, I decided to approach her. Heart pounding, I moved through the crowd, weaving between dancing bodies until I stood beside her. I said, my voice barely above a whisper. To my surprise, she turned and smiled at me, a warm and genuine smile that lit up her eyes. "Hello," she replied, her voice as soft as a breeze. We talked for what felt like hours. Her name was Violet, and she was new in town. She spoke about her love for books and astronomy, two passions that resonated with me. It was as if we had known each other for a lifetime, and yet we had just met. As the night wore on, I introduced Violet to my friends, excited to show her that I could be the life of the party, too. But when I turned to point her out, my friends exchanged puzzled glances. "Who are you talking about, David?" Mark asked. "Violet," I replied, pointing to where she had stood just moments before. But Violet was nowhere to be seen. My friends assured me that no one had been standing there. I was baffled. I scanned the room, searching for her familiar face, but she had vanished into thin air. A feeling of unease settled in my stomach. I began to question my own sanity. Had I imagined the entire conversation? Had Violet even existed? I decided to search further, navigating through the partygoers, asking if anyone had seen a girl named Violet. But each inquiry was met with blank stares and headshakes. As minutes turned into hours, desperation gnawed at me. I couldn't shake the memory of Violet's presence, her voice, and the way she had looked at me. Finally, I approached the host of the party, Max. He was known for his photographic memory. "Max, did you see a girl named Violet at your party?" I asked, my voice trembling. Max scratched his head, deep in thought. "Violet doesn't ring a bell, man. I know everyone here, and I haven't seen any new faces tonight." My heart sank. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. Could I have fabricated the entire encounter? Defeated and bewildered, I retreated to a quiet corner, my thoughts in turmoil. That's when I noticed a piece of paper on the floor, half concealed under a discarded party hat. I picked it up, my hands trembling, and read the words scrawled on it in elegant handwriting. "Thank you for talking to me, David. Violet." It was undeniable proof that Violet had been real, that our conversation had occurred. But where was she now? I left the party, haunted by the enigmatic encounter. I never saw Violet again, and nobody else could confirm her existence. The memory of that night became a source of fascination and dread for me, a mystery I could never solve. Years passed, and I moved on with my life, but the memory of Violet continued to haunt me. I often wondered if she had been a ghost, a fleeting presence from another realm, or perhaps she had been a figment of my imagination, a creation of my longing for connection. The high school house party was in full swing. Neon lights danced across the faces of the teenagers as they moved to the thumping beat of the music. The air was thick with excitement and youthful exuberance, a snapshot of teenage life on a Friday night. But what started as a night of revelry would soon take a dark and chilling turn. The party was at Max's place. He was known for throwing the wildest parties in town, and this one was no exception. The house vibrated with the energy of the crowd, and the noise was deafening. The music was so loud that it drowned out any attempt at conversation, leaving the attendees with no choice but to communicate through gestures and the occasional scribbled note. Amid the chaos, a group of friends gathered in the living room. There was Emily, the witty and outgoing hostess, and her best friend Sarah. Hugh was known for her calm and level-headed demeanor. Joining them were Mark, the class clown, and Lisa, the quiet, introspective one. As the night wore on, Emily had an idea to spice up the party. She grabbed a notepad and scribbled a message. "Let's play the silent game." She showed it to her friends, and they all agreed, finding the idea intriguing. The rules were simple. No one was allowed to speak for the rest of the party. They would communicate using gestures, expressions, and written notes only. Everyone in the group nodded in agreement, and the game began. At first, it was a light-hearted challenge. The friends took turns acting out scenes from their favorite movies, making each other laugh, and even attempting to dance without making a sound. It was a welcome change from the deafening music that still blared from the speakers. But as the night progressed, things took a strange turn. Lisa noticed it first. She glanced toward the hallway leading to the bedrooms and froze. Her eyes widened, and she hastily scribbled a note. "Did you guys see that?" The others followed her gaze and saw a shadowy figure standing in the hallway. The figure was tall and unnaturally thin, its features hidden in the darkness. They exchanged nervous glances and nodded in acknowledgement. They decided to investigate, moving silently toward the hallway. As they got closer, they could hear a faint, rhythmic sound like a slow, deliberate tapping. It was coming from one of the closed bedroom doors. Emily, her curiosity getting the better of her, gently pushed the door open, revealing the room's interior bathed in dim moonlight. The tapping grew louder as they entered, and they realized it was coming from the closet. Mark, always the adventurous one, approached the closet cautiously. He reached for the doorknob, his hand trembling slightly. With a swift motion, he flung the door open. What they saw inside would haunt their nightmares for years to come. Huddled in the corner of the closet was a figure, emaciated and disheveled, with hollow eyes that seemed to stare through them. It was a girl, her lips moving in a silent, desperate chant. The room fell into a stunned silence. The tapping had stopped, replaced by an eerie stillness. The girl in the closet continued to mouth words, but no sound emerged. It was as though her voice had been stolen. They quickly called the police, who arrived to rescue the girl. She was malnourished and dehydrated, unable to speak due to the trauma she had endured. She had been missing for months, and her discovery that night was nothing short of miraculous. After an ambulance took her to the hospital, the house party came to an abrupt end as the detectives conducted their investigation. The friends were left in a state of shock, struggling to comprehend the horror that had unfolded within the seemingly ordinary walls of their classmate's home. To this day, no one knows how she entered the house and ended up hiding in the closet. It was a typical Friday night in a quiet suburban neighborhood where nothing out of the ordinary ever happened. A group of friends, Sarah, Mike, Lisa, and Tim, decided to break the monotony and hit a local nightclub. They were eager to escape the mundane and have a night they'd remember. The club was alive with pulsating music and colorful lights. The friends danced, laughed, and enjoyed themselves, savoring the freedom of the weekend. The hours slipped by, and they lost track of time. Around midnight, as the dance floor began to thin, Lisa noticed a mysterious woman at the bar. She was dressed in a flowing black gown that seemed out of place in the club's casual atmosphere. Her piercing green eyes watched the group intently. Curiosity piqued. Lisa decided to approach the enigmatic woman. "Hi," she said. "I'm Lisa. We couldn't help but notice you. You look different from everyone else here." The woman smiled, a smile that held secrets. "I'm Alara. I'm new in town, looking for a bit of adventure." The conversation flowed easily, and Alara joined the group on the dance floor. It was as if she'd known them forever. Her graceful moves drew the attention of everyone in the club. As the night wore on, the friends grew more captivated by Alara's presence. Her stories were enthralling, and she had an uncanny ability to predict their thoughts and feelings. They felt as if she could see into their souls. Around 2 a.m., Alara suggested they leave the club and continue the night at her place. Eager for more excitement, the friends agreed without hesitation. They piled into their cars and followed Alara's directions to a remote house on the outskirts of an old gravel road. The house was a grand Victorian, shrouded in shadows. As they entered, a sense of unease washed over them, but they attributed it to the late hour and their tiredness. Inside, Alara's home was filled with antique furniture, strange artifacts, and an overwhelming scent of incense. Alara offered them a drink, and they accepted, still under her spell. The hours passed in a blur as they listened to her tales of far-off lands and ancient mysteries. They lost all track of time. It was Mike who first noticed something was amiss. He excused himself to use the restroom, but when he opened the door, he found himself in a corridor that seemed to stretch endlessly. Panicked, he retraced his steps and returned to the room, but now it appeared empty, devoid of his friends. Frantic, he called out their names, but no response came. As he explored the eerie house, he realized that each room was a labyrinth of shifting walls and corridors, a nightmarish maze designed to confound and trap. Hours passed, and Mike was trapped in a never-ending loop of twisting hallways. He could hear his friends' voices echoing in the distance, but they remained elusive, always just out of reach. Finally, Mike managed to reunite with his friends, and they ran out the front door and through the woods. The next day, all of them had a terrible headache and were not sure what happened last night. With all their courage, they went back to the house to collect their cars. Tim, the bravest among them, peeked through the window, but the house looked like it must have been abandoned decades ago. The friends left and never came back. But they will never know what really happened that fateful night. What do you think? Was Alara just a product of their imagination? Did they consume psychedelic substances, or did they really encounter something paranormal? Let me know what you think in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe, and click on these videos for more scary stories. Thank you.